Well, sitting here with Alanis Morissette, it's really cool to see you again.
You too.
New album's coming up. So post-informer infatuation junkie. That's not easy for a Dutch person.
All right. It's not easy for a Canadian person.
How did you come up with that title?
Basically, it was my calling myself on the fact that I'd never really allowed myself to just enjoy a very basically felt emotion. And I had to always siphon it through my intellect or through my mind or justify it or rationalize it. And basically, it's me just allowing myself to feel it and be young and not make excuses for it.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And on this album, again, you work with Glenn Ballard. Mm-hmm. What is the magic between you two that you work again with him?
It's the support and the freedom and his security in that, you know, my growth didn't threaten him and his growth didn't threaten me. This time around, we produced it together, this record, and I wrote a few of the songs alone and a few of the songs with him. And we pull each other. We're very complementary in a lot of ways, and we bring the best out in each other, and we require a lot of each other because we're intense together. So there's a synergy that we have when we're together too, and there's not a lot of talking, there's not a lot of conscious discussion about what we're about to do musically or collaboratively, but we have a lot of discussion and philosophizing about the life we live and the earth in general. So it's very inspiring to spend time with him. So
it just kind of like feels good. Because to me, it seems very hard when it's your album, when it's your songs, to find somebody to do that with.
Yeah, it has to be someone that has a sensitivity towards the individual expression on my part. I've collaborated a lot in the past, and it was difficult to be able to write something that was solely for me when I was with someone. You know, I didn't want to take for granted that because I was the one putting the record out, that it would be predominantly my expression on the record. But Glenn has a sensitivity to that. You know, he knows whose record we're working on. So very respectful and a lot of space, and it's great.
And how was the co-producing?
It was very challenging and very fulfilling. Something that I hadn't felt the freedom to do in the past. You know, I had been in environments where my getting my feet wet or my growing had threatened certain people in the past, but not in the case of Glenn and I together, and very encouraging. I mean, he's brilliant in the studio, and so is Chris Vogel, so the guy who engineered my record. So learned a lot, asked them a lot of questions, and just absorbed, and was much more easily able to articulate what I wanted in the studio this time on a technical level and on a visceral sort of emotional level as far as the music went. So very empowering.
And you said that 4 tracks are like solely by your hand on the album. Maybe that's the wrong way of saying it, but why only 4?
It could have been 4, it could have been 14. I wasn't going to be precious about it. I mean, next time around it might be 14, it might be 2. You know, I'm not overly invested in who writes the song as long as the song is written and as long as the song is saying what I want it to say. And I feel very present, even when I collaborate with Glenn. I feel very musically present in it, so, and lyrically, obviously. So whatever it will be is what it'll be, basically.
Is it harder to have like a song that's solely yours on an album, to sing, to record it, or you're more stuck on it than with the other songs, or not?
Perhaps during the writing process, I'm more available to it just because I'm the one creating it, but no less emotionally involved in the ones that I collaborate with Glenn in. And Glenn, of course, is an exception. I've collaborated with a lot of people that, due to the lack of synergy between the both of us, I wasn't able to be emotionally part of the song, you know, but with Glenn, that's not the case.
So we're happy about that. Good.
Yeah.
Is there a big difference for you between Jagged Little Pill and this album? And if there is, what is the big difference for you?
I'm not as objective as I probably will be in a couple of years from now, looking back on the records, but on an emotional level, I think there's just a little more responsibility taken on this record, as opposed to just being a visceral emotional reaction to things and the pointing of a finger at people and situations. It allows myself to do that because I think it's a valid thing to do, but it takes it a little step further and takes a look at my role in a lot of these dynamics and analyzes that, or admits to a lot of things, takes a little more responsibility.
And you traveled in between these two albums, and you also went to India. How did that have a big influence on this album?
I think the mindset that was required of me to take the trip definitely influenced the album. The ability to be able to let go and stop and get off the proverbial treadmill and breathe and let go, as I said. So that definitely affected the record, and the looking at, you know, when you sort of achieve something or reach a certain goal that you've had for many years, it can be horrifying and equally liberating at the same time, because you realize what parts of it were real and what parts of it were an illusion. So that period of time after I got off the road from Jagged Little Pill was very very abyss-like and very very awakening for me.
I can imagine. It must be a lot, though. Like, we followed you with everything. And I'm like, whoa. Sometimes I'm happy not to be in your shoes.
Right.
Is it, a lot of people are, of course, waiting for your album. And now you're not the Alanis Morissette. Boom, there she is, totally new. But now they're going to be right on top of you with what you've done now. Right. Is that in your mind, or you don't care about that at all?
There was an element of my being aware of that when I first started writing the record. And I didn't want to have that at all be part of the writing process for me. So I basically stopped and took a couple of months off in between when I started and when I finished. And came back and wrote That I Would Be Good, which was a turning point song for me, because it basically allowed me to believe that I didn't have to do anything. And what you're left with when you're in that silence, in that area of having completely let go, all that I was really left with was gratitude and peace and inspiration, you know. So I'd much rather write a record from a place of love rather than fear.
Good. Do you have a favorite song on a track? Is that hard for an artist to say, yes, I do have a favorite?
It's hard. I have favorites depending upon what headspace I'm in. But today, it's Would Not Come. And I like them all, though. They're all, it's like any artist. I think it's just hard to describe which one would be.
So you're like your little babies.
They're my children.
Well, you talked about children in that, too, if you had them.
Yeah.
One of the songs.
Right.
You Are, I really liked.
Oh, thanks.
Are you still thinking that way, or is it a reflection on the past?
It's a chronology of starting when I was 9 up until the point of the end of the Jagged Little Pill time. It was sort of a retrospective for me.
This is the Music Factory.